Hi guys, welcome to today's session. This is going to be the second and final session on this math study. So we've been doing basically looking at studies of different features of the face. So in portraits, different features that you might come across. And this has been the math study. So what we're going to start doing today is laying in color. So the first session we just spent time establishing the shapes, so giving a basis for what we're going to do today, and now we can use that as a guide for laying in colors into the portrait. So I'm starting with just like a light flesh tone, and this is using some white, some cadmium yellow, bit of cadmium red, and burnt umber. You could use yellow ochre, but I just didn't have any on my palette, so I'm sticking with using my burnt umber as a sort of grey adjuster, basically. So I'm using that to kind of darken and grey things. And the first thing I'm doing now is I basically just want to try to get my major kind of flesh tones around the mouth in place. Then I can start to lay on some lip color, but essentially I'm just initially trying to get the sort of forms around the lips in place. So when I've got lighter colors, lighter tones, I'm using more white and then more of my cadmiums. And then as it's turning into the sort of darker tones, I'm just using more of my burnt umber basically. And that's the sort of general approach. And I can also use the underpainting color as well, quite a lot. And if things shift a little bit to yellow, so like this maybe is a little bit too yellow, I can add, not necessarily immediately, but I'll be able to add some red back into that to balance it out a bit. But the main takeaway is I don't have to be kind of crazy precise for it to sort of start to come together. And that's what these sorts of little studies are good for, because they can kind of relax you a bit with your portrait painting. And portrait painting can be really intimidating and difficult. It's hard enough to draw portraits, and then when you start painting them, people often really panic a lot. So as a kind of like soft entry into portrait painting, I think these sorts of exercises are really great. So this one and the other ones that I've already posted. The past kind of 4 videos we looked at. So far we've looked at eyes, then noses, and then now we're looking at mouths. And we're going to do, I think next week or next, so before the summer break, I'll be doing a final couple on ears, and that kind of roughly covers all the kind of major bits. So it's not too bad for the forms around the mouth. So you can see we've got, as the lips crease in, we've got these folds which get quite dark, the corners of the mouth. And then we have these highlights that kind of pop out, the lips projecting, so we get the shadow underneath, those sorts of forms. So I'm just gonna, final thing we'll do is just mix up a slightly lighter flesh tone. And use that to just to get these little highlights and the flesh tones, and then we can move on to the mouth. So I'm going to clean my brush off, and then we're going to swap to slightly more pink tones, but we're going to begin with mixing a bit of black red together just to make our lip in shadow color. Now I could probably do with maybe like some alizarin crimson to get this color, but I think we'll probably roughly achieve it just using Cad red and black. So this is possibly a slightly too high chroma pink, but as we blend it in and as we then lighten it, it's going to diminish its brightness a little bit. So just going to get it placed, and then we'll kind of tweak it. But it's generally better to start with higher chroma colors, so more saturated colors, and light when you're doing lighter colors, and then sort of mute them down, just because things will tend to be dulled down as you work them. Sort of the effect people talk about when they talk about muddying. So it's better to stick with something maybe a little bit too bright, and then as you paint it in and you adjust it, you'll find it will probably shift to something a lot more muted. Yeah, you can see that works pretty well to get the lip colour in. I'm going to go into some pure white now and sort of paint that in up the top here. We've got that highlight hitting, and we want that to kind of blend in almost with the flesh tone value wise. So we just lose that edge. We'll roughly lose it. We get a little bit of a hue shift, but we're trying to make it feel like the flesh tone sort of almost merging in a bit with the lip tone. Try to introduce just a little bit of more of a yellowish color into the lips. So I'm just going to get the final little bits of highlights into the lips, but once we've done that, I think it's pretty good. Or certainly, like, I'd be happy to leave it as a study. So this is basically like the level that you're aiming for. So just to put a few little touches of highlights, the creases in the lips, catching the light a little bit on the top there, and then a little bit on the bottom. And the absolute final thing I want to do is just get a little bit more black with a touch of Cad Red. Yeah, and that's looking pretty good. So I'm happy with that as far as a kind of form study in paint. So it teaches a little bit about, or the process will help you look at the colour shift from flesh tone to like a lip colour or a lipstick colour, which can always be tricky, and it helps you look a bit at forms which you'll have maybe done in pencil before, but doing it in paint is helpful too. So yeah, that's it for this one, and then we're going to wrap up the academic year with a couple of videos about painting ears, and that'll be it. But as always, subscribe to the channel by clicking the like button. You get more free videos from myself and other tutors and students, and you can also click the link in the description to see the sorts of paid qualifications that we offer as well. But yeah, that's it for today, and I'll see you guys soon.